welcome to Beware Spoilers. I am Adam. Well, Thrawn Ascendency has ended. It's probably the most begrudgingly I've read a Star Wars series of books out of everything. And not just because of Thrawn's kind of strange relationship with fascism through all of his, and militaristic fascism through all of his books, where it's like, you know, Thrawn is an interesting story. Like the first Thrawn book of the new canon. I'm not talking about Heir to the Empire. I'm talking about Thrawn. Came out in like 2015, 2014, something like that. It's an interesting book because it's an immigrant story. It's a story of a guy who comes to somewhere where he's unfamiliar. He's a refugee, and he tells all of the He tells he becomes the best among them, in spite of the racism that he faces, because he's not like everyone else. And there's a very, you know, if not white supremacist view that the Empire has. It's, you know, it's definitely we do not fuck you. It's definitely a It's definitely a, sorry, I saw a lawn sign that pissed me off. If it's not a white supremacist view that the Empire has, it's definitely a human supremacist view where, you know, we very rarely see black officers or anything. It's all white humans in the Empire. It's very rare that you see, you know, anyone who's not a white human, specifically a white male human. And it's like, yeah, you get, you know, as we expand out, but these characters are always humanized. Where it's like, you know, Yerica Quell from from Alphabet Squadron, she's not white, and she was an Imperial officer, and she defected. There's also, I forgot her name, from Battlefront 2, played by Janina Ganavankar. Also, another example of that, where it's like they're not white, and they defect and they get death to them, but the majority of the Empire is a bunch of, you know, older white guys who are, you know, running it, and it's basically a fascist state, and it's not subtly, you know, meant to be Nazi Germany. It's very not subtle in that. So when we look at what the story of Thrawn is it's him overcoming this racism, but at the end of the day, he's overcoming the racism to become a member of this organization. It's kind of like weird in that regard. And the way that he tells the story is, it's always, you know, Thrawn has to overcome this, and Thrawn has to, and Thrawn always bothers me as a character because nothing bad ever seems to happen to Thrawn. Because that's the big thing, is that, you know, this trilogy is kind of given us the origin of, not really even the origin of Thrawn as the master strategist, but like as Thrawn as the, because when we meet him, he's already a master strategist. It's what's Thrawn's shortcoming, and it's been a common thread through Thrawn Alliances, Thrawn, the other one, I forgot what it's called, Betrayal, or whatever it is. Across all of those, it's this running story about Thrawn as a master strategist who cannot navigate politics, which feels like a strange blind spot when you're a master strategist. And if that was just the blind spot, and he's just like, oh, well, I'm I'm a master strategist, but I can't navigate the family politics among all the families, then it's kind of like, you know, if that meant something, that would be important, but at the end of the day, it never means anything. Because he can sit here and fuck up the politics all day long. Like, till the cows come home, he can go every day, fuck everything up, and just go about his day, and there's never any negative repercussion to him fucking anything up. Because it's always like, he's Thrawn, it's okay. He just doesn't understand how to do it. And no one's like, let me show him how to navigate the political problems that he's going to encounter. It's just kind of a weird thing that, you know, it's Thrawn is kind of perfect, and it's like if we look back at Thrawn's history, even as a character in Heir to the Empire, it's like Thrawn has one blind spot ever, and it's there. And I feel like the issue is it's like I want to see this book have some impact going forward. I don't think it's going to, because it's like all this book really does is reframe the understanding of his exile, which I don't think was really reframing anything, because I thought that was kind of always what was understood to be why he was exiled. It's like the point of him in exile was always to gather intel on the Empire. I thought that was just understood. I thought that was stated at some point in the past, and I thought we weren't breaking any new ground. When it's like, oh, surprise, he wasn't really in exile. He was just doing it to get in with the Empire so he could find a possible ally to fight the Grist. It's like, okay, so that was cool, and it's like, all right, whatever. And I feel like if that's the big thing to come out of this and really shape the Grist as a threat that needs to be handled going forward, that would be enough. I just think they could have done it in one book instead of three. And the thing is, too, it's like nothing is really reframed here in a meaningful way. Like, some of the best recent ones, besides, Alphabet Squadron, are the Queen's Hope, Queen's Peril, and whatever the third one is that's coming next April. Those are some of the most interesting, because it's like the Queen's Peril is the second one, I think. That was the one that tells the story of what happened to Padme's handmaidens as they, Padme's handmaidens during the invasion of Naboo, as Padme was going and speaking to the Senate in Phantom Menace. All of that is interesting story fodder. And we can use that to really dive in and tell a new story and give us new background to information we already know, and it's great. And I feel like that's what the best use of the expanded universe is to give us context for things. Like, Alphabet Squadron gives us the context of like what the politics are like, and not just the politics, but like what was it like for the military of the New Republic in the immediate aftermath of of the fall of the Empire. Why did the Battle of Jakku happen the way it did? All of these questions are interesting, and it's kind of answered. It's like it kind of attempts to retrofit in Operation Inferno, or Operation, I just call it Operation Fuck Me, Fuck You, because up until the return of Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker, like, whatever that operation was called that was first introduced in Battlefront 2, and then moved into, other books, it was just like, alright, you know what? You're gonna sit here and you're gonna kill me. Alright, fine. You kill me, I'll destroy every world. Have fun. Good luck. Because you will not be able to stop that. And I feel like that was an interesting enough way to really handle it, but they changed it because, he came back. And if he comes back, there's no reason for him to destroy everything. So, like, these are all, like, little things that happen that, additional context is needed. And if Thrawn Ascendency is just setting up that the Grist are coming, and the Grist are going to do that, and it's just, the Grist are very transparently the Yuuzhan Vong of the new canon, and it's like, cool. Like, if that's where we're going with this, then that's good enough. And I think it would be cool if the new, if the new Obi-Wan show did that episode that was canceled of Clone Wars, where he ends up on that planet and he has to face off against the member of the Yuuzhan Vong. That would be cool. I don't know if they're going to do it or not, but that's something I would do if it was me. So I just feel like that's a cool kind of story I would like to see them tell. I don't think that they're going to, necessarily do that, but I feel like if that's what happened here, then that's what this should have been. Other than that, this whole thing was for naught. And I feel like that, like, the Star Wars Expanded Universe has a very unique relationship with, needing to prove its purpose and existence. Where it's like, or ordinarily, you don't necessarily need to prove your worth as a book and be like, well, why does this story need to exist? What is the point of this in the grander scheme of things? And I don't think that Thrawn Ascendency really answers that question in a good enough way. Why did it need to exist? Well, to give backstory to Thrawn. Like, in the same way we don't need a Joker movie, I don't think we need Thrawn backstory, because Thrawn is a perfect machine of a calculator of a man, where he's a mentat. He's a perfect strategist who can not fuck up except for in a very important way and end up dead. But he is a master strategist. Unless you're going to show me the story of how he became that master strategist, and you're going to show me him fucking up, and you're going to do that, I don't care. And that's part of the problem here. It's, you haven't given me a reason to care, because he never fucks up. And when he does fuck up, it's all political stuff, and who cares? It's like, I saw someone said, it's like they got in trouble at work for not CCing people on an email in order of seniority, and that's the level of pettiness that the 9 ruling families are involved in terms of this whole nonsense, where it's like, I don't care. Like, alright, cool, so maybe when the fucking space whales in Rebels showed up and pulled him and Ezra into the unknown regions, it's like that was continuing the 3D chess that Thrawn was playing, where he wanted to, like, go back to the Chiss Ascendancy. Like, yeah, that's the plan, is like, yeah, he has to go back to the Chiss at some point, but it doesn't give me a good enough reason to care about what's happening here. And that's a fundamental misfire on the part of the book. Like, I want this to mean something. And I know when I read the Obi-Wan and Anakin book coming next year, I'm gonna feel differently, where it's like, I don't really need this to mean anything, because as long as it's entertaining, that's fine. And I will give this book that Thrawn is a master at writing what is basically naval combat. Like, when all of these stories, all of the Thrawn stories, Heir to the Empire, all of that, all are very focused on space combat and slow-moving space combat in the vein of Hunt for Red October and things like that. And to that end, it's interesting and it's fun in that regard, where it's like, you can feel better about rooting for Thrawn, because it's like, he's not in the Empire, but like at the same time, the Chiss are also like not great. Like, I wouldn't want the Chiss in charge of anything, because it's like, they don't seem to be that, like, it's still not a great system for them to be running things. If you're looking for just a series that's going to do great, what is mostly naval combat, where it's like, these ships, and I think that's one of the things that, like, because of the book, it does that well, where it's like, it's slow moving, it's meditative, it's just them very slowly dealing with the issue at hand, and then it's like, okay, we're going to get there. When we get there, we're good, and we're going to deal with it then. And I think that that's what this book does well, but at the same time, if you're looking for something that's going to, like, eventually lead somewhere, this feels like a storytelling cul-de-sac, to use a term from the head of Warner Brothers, and that's what it kind of feels like, because it's like, they've been talking about the Grist for years at this point, since Thrawn Alliances, which, for a frame of reference, takes place partially on Batuu, or a good amount on Batuu, which you may remember as where Galaxy's Edge takes place. And it's part of the synergy of it all, where it's like, Disney's like, we want people to go to the parks, so we're going to have the books take place at Galaxy's Edge, or whatever the name of the outpost is. I don't remember, but we're gonna do that, and it doesn't quite mesh. That if that's where we're going with this, and they've been doing this for a while. I think the Grysk may have actually been introduced in the first one. It's been a while since I read the first Thrawn book, but if the Grysk are introduced there at that point, then they're probably not going to bring them in, because they could have brought them in at any point up until this point, or at least made a passing reference to it in, say, The Mandalorian, or Season 8 of The Clone Wars, or at any point during The Bad Batch, or anything like that. I don't think it's going to happen. I could be wrong, and I'll be more than happy to be wrong. But I just don't think it's going to. I don't think it's going to happen. But on that note, what is this guy doing? On that note, we'll wrap up there for today. We'll be back. The next episode is going to be tomorrow. That's going to be Masters of the Universe. Well, not tomorrow, probably Wednesday. Masters of the Universe Revelation. Wednesday is also that other show. What's the other one I'm going to do? The other movie, House of Gucci. No, just go. Go ahead. I have nothing but time. House of Gucci, Licorice Pizza this weekend, Hawkeye, episodes 1 and 2, and, what was the other one? Wheel of Time, episode 4 on Friday. So until then, have a great rest of your week.